When Chester W. Nimitz took command of the U.S. Pacific Fleet on December 31, 1941, most senior officers believed he was stepping into a doomed position. The Pacific was burning. Battleships lay wrecked in Pearl Harbor. The Japanese Navy controlled half the ocean and had just conquered territory that had taken America decades to influence. The U.S. public was scared. Commanders were panicking. And into this chaos stepped a quiet, soft-spoken Texan who didn't even want the job. Many believed Nimitz lacked the aggression to fight a brutal maritime war. He wasn't loud. He didn't give fiery speeches. He didn't have MacArthur's ego or Halsey's ferocity. He was calm when everyone else was furious. That calmness made people underestimate him. They mistook self-control for weakness, patience for hesitation, and silence for uncertainty. They had no idea that this quiet admiral was about to change the course of the Pacific War. Nimitz's first days in command were a nightmare. Japanese carriers roamed freely. American bases were collapsing. 2 entire U.S. fleets had effectively ceased to exist. The Pacific was so large, and the American presence so small, that many believed Japan would dominate the ocean for years. Some officers whispered that the United States should abandon the Western Pacific entirely and fall back to defend Hawaii and the West Coast. Nimitz refused. He knew something others didn't. Japan had won fast, but those victories were fragile. Their supply lines were thin. Their logistics were weak. Their industry could not replace losses the way America could. Nimitz believed the Japanese Navy was powerful, but vulnerable. All he had to do was wait for the right moment to break it. And that moment came sooner than anyone expected. In early 1942, American codebreakers at Station Haipo began intercepting Japanese naval signals. They were fragments at first, short transmissions, partial coordinates, hints of future operations. But Nimitz trusted his codebreakers. While other commanders demanded perfect intelligence, Nimitz was willing to make decisions based on probabilities and patterns. That trust became his greatest weapon. By May, Haipo uncovered something astonishing. Japan was preparing a massive operation aimed at a location only identified by one code, AF. No one knew where AF was. Some suspected the Aleutians, others believed it was Fiji or Samoa. But Nimitz listened to his codebreakers, and they believed AF meant one thing: Midway, a tiny, barely defended atoll in the middle of the Pacific. If Japan captured it, they would threaten Hawaii, and possibly force America into negotiating peace. Nimitz decided to gamble everything. His commanders warned him it was suicide. The Japanese were sending 4 fleet carriers, the same carriers that had destroyed Pearl Harbor. The U.S. had 3, one of them damaged. Japan had more ships, more planes, more experience, and more momentum. Every staff officer who looked at the numbers saw disaster. But Nimitz didn't care about the numbers. He cared about timing. Japan thought the U.S. was still reeling from Pearl Harbor. They believed the Americans were too weak to strike back. Nimitz knew this overconfidence was the real advantage. If he positioned his carriers correctly, hidden beyond the horizon, he could ambush the most dangerous fleet Japan possessed. The carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and the hastily repaired Yorktown sailed under strict radio silence. Their crews didn't know the plan. Their officers didn't know the Japanese positions. Only Nimitz had the full picture in his mind, and he held the entire operation together through one belief. If the U.S. didn't strike now, it might never get another chance. On June 4th, 1942, Nimitz's gamble paid off in a way the world still struggles to believe. American scout planes spotted the Japanese carriers first. American dive bombers struck first, and in the span of 5 miraculous minutes, 3 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, erupted into fireballs. The 4th, Hiryu, fell later that day. The same fleet that had terrorized the Pacific for 6 months was gone, destroyed, broken. Historians call Midway the turning point of the Pacific War, but they often forget the deeper truth. Midway was the turning point because Nimitz believed in people no one else trusted: codebreakers, young aviators, inexperienced carrier crews, and because he had the calmness to make hard decisions when others froze. After Midway, something changed across the U.S. Navy. Sailors who once felt hopeless began to believe victory was possible. Pilots who feared the Japanese Zero now knew its weaknesses. Commanders who doubted their own chances started to plan offensives. And through it all, Nimitz remained exactly as he was on day one: quiet, steady, thoughtful. His leadership style confused people. He didn't yell, he didn't threaten, he didn't demand loyalty, he earned it. Instead of crushing officers for mistakes, he encouraged them to learn. Instead of chasing personal glory, he focused on results. Instead of seeking attention, he pushed credit to the people under him. Nimitz understood something many wartime leaders never grasp. Fear spreads fast, but so does confidence, and confidence wins wars. As the U.S. prepared for its island-hopping offensives, Nimitz's ability to balance aggression and caution became legendary. While General Douglas MacArthur dominated headlines with bold statements, Nimitz quietly planned some of the most sophisticated naval campaigns in history: Tarawa, the Marianas, the Philippines, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Every amphibious assault, every carrier strike, every submarine patrol, all of it moved through Nimitz, and while MacArthur and Halsey argued publicly, Nimitz held the Pacific Command together with calm authority. Officers who disagreed with him rarely stayed angry. They trusted him too much. Sailors said he had a rare gift: the ability to look you directly in the eyes and make you feel like your opinion mattered, even if he silently disagreed. But perhaps the clearest example of Nimitz's character came after the war. When journalists demanded harsh punishments for Japanese admirals, Nimitz refused. He argued that they had fought honorably under impossible conditions. He pushed for restraint. He insisted that the Pacific War should end with dignity, not vengeance. And then he did something no one expected. He traveled to Japan, walked through ruined cities, and treated former enemies with respect. Many Japanese officers later said that this single act changed their view of America forever. Nimitz understood that winning a war was one thing, but building peace required something far greater. By the end of World War II, Nimitz's reputation had transformed completely. The quiet Admiral people doubted in 1941 became the commander who defeated the most dangerous navy on Earth. The man who supposedly lacked aggression oversaw the largest naval offensive in history. The man people thought too calm turned out to be the only one who could hold together a war fought across half the globe. His success wasn't built on ego or noise. It was built on discipline, trust, and an ability almost no military leader has. He stayed calm when the world fell apart and led millions through it. Today, historians finally acknowledge the truth sailors knew all along. Chester Nimitz didn't win the Pacific because he was loud, bold, or charismatic. He won because he understood that wars aren't decided by the strongest voice, but by the sharpest mind and the steadiest hand. And that is why, when the world expected him to fail, Admiral Nimitz quietly saved the Pacific.